there were a lot of people pretty upset about this whole thing. And they said, look, we're going to put a referendum on the ballot. That's not easy. But they had got the signatures for this pretty quickly, and they submitted it. And they said, okay, great. Now, this is going to be on the ballot, so we'll put in explanatory statements about what it is that we feel in the voters' pamphlet as usual so that people can make up their mind by reading this. Guess what?
Okay.
The county commissioners decided no voters' pamphlet this time. Woo-hoo, we're going to save money.
This is really bad.
All right, so now have they ever not done a voters' pamphlet for something on the ballot?
Grants Pass City decided a few years ago when there were some issues on the ballot that were pretty touchy that they really just didn't want a voters' pamphlet. This time, the city has a levy, a law enforcement levy. Gee, that sounds familiar. Up for election in November, and they don't want a voters' pamphlet. And the county has these ordinances which the people would like to rescind, and they don't want a voters' pamphlet. And who gets to decide? The county clerk. And it turns out that there's no money in the budget that was placed into this current budget that we have for this election, but there definitely was money put in there for next May where there's going to be another property tax raise on the
So there's money in the budget to inform the voters when they want to raise your property taxes.
That's right.
But there's no money in the budget when it comes time to inform the voters about something which may hold their property rights and keep the government's power grab in check, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now I'm understanding where we're coming from. But doesn't this just really strike me as Grants Pass, Josephine County business as usual? I mean, come on.
Yeah. This is why we try to bring attention to this.
Did they bring this up in the? Okay, did they bring this up in the Greater Grants Pass Rotary meeting? Maybe they decided in there.
We're not allowed there anymore. Remember, we can't even buy pizza there.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be flippant or sarcastic about it, but that one still just irks me a bit.
Yeah, the commissioners talked about this on Thursday. And Cheryl Walker, one of the commissioners, brought up, she said, if people try to put these arguments, as they call them, if they try to put them in the voters' pamphlet, like we always do, like the county does, like everybody can, why, that could, can you believe this, influence the election. And my gosh, they could have more than one in there. So they're all talking about what a terrible idea. This is what we always do in elections, but they are totally against this time.
What really bothers me is the fact that the ballot measures that were written by the district attorney, Stephen Campbell, are confusing and misleading. And without the ability for the public to have explanatory arguments in a voter's pamphlet, people are not going to know what they're voting on. There's no way you can read that first ordinance write-up and figure out that, oh, yes, we had a solid waste ordinance in 1990. The commissioners in April of this year had these 4 new ordinances that they voted on over strong opposition from the public. And then once they ticked off the public enough, the public went out and gathered over 1,300 signatures in order to place this on a ballot so that people could say, do we really want these new ordinances? They're not going to know any of that by the write-up that is
currently being proposed out there, the ballot explanatory statement then from the government. All right, so let's find out then when this election or when this vote comes. When is this vote going to be scheduled for the code enforcement, solid waste, et cetera?
In November.
November, okay. Is the vote to preserve property rights and keep the code enforcement tyranny out of the situation like Jackson County unfortunately has, is it going to be a yes vote or a no vote?
The question is, should an ordinance be passed to revise the solid waste ordinance prohibiting accumulation of solid waste and other health hazards?
So which way would you vote on that, Bill?
Well, when you hear it this way, I would be for health. And I would be for keeping hazards away, so I would probably vote yes.
But the government wrote that explanation.
Exactly.
See, they passed the law, then they write the explanation, and then they say, well, we gave copies of that to the petitioners, except the petitioners say, no, they didn't.
And listen, on the summary, the very last sentence, A yes vote will repeal the current solid waste and nuisance abatement ordinance and adopt a new Josephine County solid waste and nuisance abatement ordinance. Doesn't that tell you a lot?
I'm more confused now.
Yeah. This is the way they wrote it up.
Okay.
And they don't want a voter's pamphlet.
Boy, this is it, because in a voter's pamphlet, then you could spend your money and say, hey, listen, these government people are full of it, right?
Correct.
But they've already said,
Correct.
even though it would only cost, according to Art Harvey, the county clerk, it would only cost $4,000 to do this. They spent $3,200 in sending out postcards last time to promote
the property
idea of
tax
raising your
hike.
taxes.
Yeah, the property tax hike. I remember that.
But $4,000, but they said the final bottom line by Simon Hare, the chairman, was it doesn't matter whether they actually want to pay for it out of their own pocket. They're not going to get a chance to do so. That's it.
So even if you were to raise money to do your own voter's pamphlet, they will not let you do it?
No, that's what they said.
They will not let us do it. We said, look, we'll give you the money, the difference, and they won't have a voter's pamphlet because it's not in their best interest to have contrary arguments in the voters'
Well, the last thing you want to do is to call your government action in question. You don't want to do that. It's much better to.
Populist.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've elected these people. Right. They know best.
Not happening.
Okay.
Right, as Cheryl Walker pointed out, people want to only hear about what's the language. Right, so any explanatory statements, what a waste that would be for the public to find out what the facts are and which vote means yes. I'm still confused about that.
You two have your work cut out for you then. Where do you go on something like this? Because it sounds like, obviously, you have to be a member of the Grants Pass Rotary to really know what's going on in Grants Pass government and county government. So, and if you can't get in there and videotape it and try to and hold it all accountable.
There's nothing wrong with Rotary all over the world.
I know.
But our center of these kinds of activities are Rotary Club meetings and Grants Pass. They just chose that. They could have picked somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But they picked Rotary Club, and all three commissioners are members of Rotary Club, head of the radio station, the guys at the newspaper. They're all going there and sharing information behind closed door in a quorum against state law.
But the state won't. But as you mentioned last month, though, the state is not going to the state's not going to go after this. They don't care.
I was just going to tell you that. I'm holding a letter from Alana Cox from the election division of the state of Oregon, and they are not going to pursue this matter any further when I complained about this.
Wow. So, in other words, we could just violate open meetings laws with the impunity now.
Exactly.
Well,
and they've
if
been
that's the
doing
kind of
it for
government
years.
Yeah.
But what we do is we shoot this video, we put it out there so people can see it, and the smartest thing that we can do is come on KMED and talk with you.
Well, won't they talk with you on KJO?
No, we're not allowed on KJO anymore.
We're not.
No, I said something about the Rotary Club and how they meet there. Boy, that's it. I'm never going to share my community, says Carl Wilson, with you ever again.
Wow.
He's not going to share his community with me.
This is very interesting. Well, I'm happy to let you bring some news here. I'm happy to help where I can. I don't like the idea of people, of good old boys, good old girl clubs in any way being in total control and trying to keep voters, trying to keep citizenry in the dark. And I appreciate your work on this, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, and the video's, by the way, up on YouTube. What do you search for?
In this case, you go to Google, you put it in quotes, Cassanelli Pressures Board.
Got it. Sandi Cassanelli, Dale Matthews, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Goodbye,
Thank you,
sir.
Bill.
Take care. Interesting, huh?